Hey, thanks everyone for giving up your afternoon here, but you're not really giving it up because you're going to learn some good stuff here and hopefully, okay, I've been told to speak up louder, I'll come closer, how's that? It's very important to understand the policies of each party. We shouldn't be voting for personality politics, we should be looking at the policies. And we believe that we've got some really strong policies out there. So I guess a lot of people didn't know me, but I'll just in case, I'll just touch on why I stood for New Zealand First 3 years ago and why I'm standing for New Conservatives this time round. Okay. Before I touch on that, we've got a candidate in the Wanganui. The Wanganui area is Hara and Stratford as well. So stand up, Jonathan. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yep. So let's talk. Also, all the people on our committee, or people that have had a billboard on their side or something like that, people who have actually physically been involved, can they just stand up for a second? Okay. At the end of it, we get a lot of questions and answers, and you'll find there's 5 or 6 people smothering us. Okay? What I want you to do first is have a look at those people and talk to them and ask them why they support New Conservatives. Because they're the real people. I'm a candidate, okay? And I mean, I believe in what I say. However, these are the ones that are really you're going to get the grassroots questions. So ask them, and that way, we've got time to talk to everyone else one-on-one as well. So if you can do that, that would be really good. Now, of course, the good thing about Jonathan and myself, we're already elected to represent this community. So we've proven that we've been elected and chosen by the people to represent this community. Jonathan is on the community board for Waitra, and I'm a 7-year District Councillor for the Plymouth District Council. Just to let you know my history, I've gone from being on the DPP with my 18-month-year-old daughter, and she's now 22. 22 or 23? 23, sorry. 24.
It's more than that.
Yeah. I know, I'm terrible like that. So I've been from the DPP, and then I've worked in business, and I've had my own mortgage broker and finance company for 22 years. So I know what it's like, and I never forget the people that are struggling out there in society. I wish we had more candidates and representatives, MPs and councillors that actually never forgot how people struggling out there used to live. A lot of them don't. So yes, I stood for New Zealand First 3 years ago. However, I changed my mind, and the reason why I changed my mind is because the followers I had back then were already moving to New Conservatives. And I didn't know anything about New Conservatives back then, but it took me about a year of them convincing, look, you need to look at it, it's more in tune with your policies. And I did look at the policies, and they fit me like a glove. And that's the thing. And who can rely on New Zealand First? I don't think anyone can rely on which way they're going to go and what they think. And the worst thing was, they had all these policies. When they came to the coalition, they didn't follow the policies. The good thing about our party is we're really staunch on the policies. And that's the good thing. And when we get in this election, can you imagine if we're that staunch on our policies and we're the party with the most staunchest policies out there, we'll be believable and we'll just take the next step the next year. And that's exciting. Because I want to be with a policy that will not tolerate certain things. If you're with National, you might not want Labour, but you go with National. But are you going to tolerate the immigration? Are you going to tolerate them ignoring that there is a child crisis out there, poverty crisis, housing crisis? They all ignored that. That can't be ignored. Why tolerate that? We're not going to tolerate that. So all I'm saying is be proud, read our policies and be proud of what you stand for and represent the party of what you believe. And don't be tolerant of just the too big two. Because they were small ones too. And the best way to make a small party a big party is to vote for the small party. Can you imagine, they always say 2 heads are better than 1. And that's the same in Parliament. If you vote 2 ticks to you Conservative, you could maximise your vote. Why vote? I mean, this is predominantly has been a blue, a national, voting area. However, has our national MP actually done much for this area? I don't think he has. Can you imagine he had 2 MPs, which are both centre and right-wing thinking, working together and working for us? Just for instance, we've got there's in Whangarei, there's people there, and guess who's putting all the money in Whangarei? Okay, they're giving hundreds of millions of dollars to Whangarei. We're not getting any of it, and we give more per head capita in royalties through our farming and oil industries than most other regions, and we're getting less. Okay, the shovel-ready projects, we've got 85 million. Okay, our other 2 closest districts got in excess of 150 million. Yet we give more in royalties. Why? Well, maybe we need 2 MP representatives in Parliament, doubling the representation and doubling the results for the people of New Plymouth and the surrounding districts. That's so important. I've got an idea of a dry dock here right in New Plymouth. We've got the reclamation at our port there. It would be really easy to convert that to a dry dock. They're thinking of doing that in Whangarei because they said it'll give employment up there. It's no use having employment if you haven't got the skill. We've got the skill here. We've got the only deep water on the west coast of New Zealand. And honestly, that 250 million, instead of going here, it would come here. And the good thing is, if there's a drop in the oil industry, okay, and tourism, what do boats do? That's when they get refitted. And if we've got a dry dock, even in hard times, the money, the expense, the expertise will come here. It's huge. But we can only do that if we have 2 MPs in Parliament representing this region. At the moment, we've only got 1. And guess what, people? Even if no one votes for him this year, he still gets in as an MP. If not one person votes our national MP here, he still gets in because he's high enough on the list. You really think he really cares? I don't think he does. But if he's got someone alongside him that's going to, we're both centre right-wing thinkers. So if you've got someone beside him, can you imagine what they can do? So, it's going to be really interesting and see where we are. The other thing is, you see on the polls, you get people voting red and blue, and then if they get a new leader, they swap from party to party. They go from Conservative, or left wing to right wing, left wing to right wing. Why? Why don't they just go like this and vote for a party that actually has the values of what an original party had sort of 40 or 50 years ago? Wouldn't it be good to live and have the New Zealand represented by a party who honours the values, okay, of what the values were in the 60s? However, with the technology we've got today, there'd be no more hate. You'd be able to unlock your car and leave it. You'd be able to unlock your house. That's where the values need to be. And where do those values come? From family. We want to bring that those family. We all know it's so important having family. So it's just something that we need to seriously look at. But all I'm saying is I'm going to finish soon and realise that it's very important if you want to maximise your vote. 2 ticks, Conservative, okay, to get us into Parliament, okay, and vote for me. You already know what I stand for: free speech, always find it funny that people vote for me on council because I stand up and say what needs to be said. Yet when I get onto council, they go, "Murray, you can't say that. You're a councillor now." Well, I can't understand that. Okay? So long as I'm saying what is right and I'm not hurting anyone saying it, what's the problem? Because I feel I need to say it because that's what the majority of the people are saying. And that's one thing our party is strong on, binding referendums. We've had referendums in the past, and every one of them weren't listened to, even though the percentage of people that voted in the referendum was 80 to 90%. The government still didn't listen to it. What we're saying is have a binding referendum. And we've got a smaller version of that right here in our council with the Murray rules. Our councillors had the numbers. They were supposed to go out and consult with the people. Did they consult with the people? No, they thought they had the numbers. Let's just railroad and make that decision. Okay? We've got some petitions here to sign, and it's a petition for a binding referendum. It's not to say yes or no to that decision. It's for the people of New Plymouth to have that decision. And some people say that's not right because why should they have a referendum for that? Binding referendum for that, and not a binding referendum for, and they don't have it for everything else. Well, I'm saying keep that binding referendum because it gives power back to the people. And introduce binding referendums both in local government and central government, which is what our party really stands for. Okay? So it gives the power. So not only have you got one vote every 3 years, and if you make a mistake, you may have 2 or 3 other votes during that term to have your say. And I think that's really important. So, yeah, just come up and ask me questions. Also ask those guys that stood up why they stood for, why they support New Zealand first. And, yeah, well, what was that?
New Conservatives.
Sorry, Conservatives, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, Leighton's a really good speaker. The good thing is I'm a tradesman. He's been a tradesman for 30 years, so he's a real numbers man. And I think if we want to fix our housing crisis, we need people like this to lead our country.